I secretly signed up for a top-secret national priority program behind my wife's back. She's the head of a regiment, and at first, she didn't take it seriously. She only thought I had suddenly become obedient. Even when she gave the promotion opportunity the organization had assigned to me to her childhood sweetheart, I didn't get angry. So she said she would transfer the house assigned to me into her childhood sweetheart's name, and that she wanted me to help her raise his child. I agreed with a smile, though my eyes couldn't help drifting toward the notice in my hand confirming my successful registration. Her brows furrowed. Don't you dare get any bad ideas. If you regret it, I'll divorce you on the spot. I put on a troubled look. But if you give the house to him, where will I live? The organization gave me another one, didn't they? Phineas is raising a child on his own. It's not easy. Show a little compassion. Hearing her cold words, I felt secretly delighted. If she's that full of universal love, she should be willing to donate all her assets to the Red Heart Welfare Home, right? After all, saving a group of children is far more loving than saving just one. Chapter 1. After filling out the registration form, I went back to the family housing compound. By chance, I caught a glimpse of a scene at the entrance. Freya was pushing a bicycle, accompanying Phineas and his child for a walk. Hanging from the back in a net bag were daily necessities she had bought for father and son, an enamel wash basin, a hot water kettle, and some pastries and snacks. Anyone who didn't know better might think they were the warm and happy family of three. When he saw me, Phineas hesitated to speak, putting on that standard fragile expression. I'm sorry, Romeo. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. If it really bothers you, I'll try to persuade Freya to bring it up to the higher-ups again. Phineas, Freya, and I grew up in the same compound. Since childhood, I was a bit of a troublemaker, stubborn, never admitting defeat, the kind to swallow a broken tooth rather than spit it out. But Phineas was different. He always wore faded, hand-me-down clothes, a pair of glasses, and carried himself like a pitiful little thing. When we grew up, Freya joined the army, while Phineas and I attended Geological University. In our final year, an opportunity suddenly came up to study abroad. The school had originally selected me, but Phineas went to Freya, crying his eyes red with indignation. You and Romeo come from good families, you'll have plenty of chances to go abroad. But I'm not the same. I know that if I miss this opportunity, I might never get another shot at success in my life. So Freya came to me, and after a mix of soft words and pressure, she persuaded me to give the opportunity to Phineas. But no one expected that shortly after going abroad, Phineas would marry a foreign woman. After being dumped overnight, Freya fell into deep despair. I was the one who stayed by her side and helped her through it step by step. Later, under the matchmaking efforts of both our families, she simply went along with it and married me. 5 years later, Phineas's wife cheated on him, and without a visa, he could only return home with his child in tow. From that moment on, my peaceful life with Freya was completely shattered. Chapter 2. Before I could say anything, Freya had already frowned. Don't be foolish. This is nothing. She comforted Phineas, saying, you also participated in the oil exploration work. You deserve this as much as anyone. Besides, you're divorced now. Raising a child on your own, you need this promotion more than Romeo does. Otherwise, how will you and your son make a living in the future? I work at the grassroots level in oil exploration, eating nothing but pickled vegetables and steamed buns every day, heading into the mountains whenever I get the chance. I endure wind and sun, my body covered in bruises from falls. At the hardest times, I've encountered extreme weather and nearly fallen off a cliff to my death, all to finally locate an oil deposit. And Phineas? He got his position thanks to the studying abroad credentials and Freya slotting him in. Every time we went out for field work, he either had headaches and fevers or pitifully claimed there was no one to take care of his child. But when Freya submitted the report, she deliberately added Phineas's name and put it before mine. So my achievements became his. The promotion and rewards I had fought so hard for became his too. When I questioned her, Freya frowned impatiently. All you do every day is run up and down the mountains. How hard can that be? And to make her first love feel justified in accepting my gift, she glanced at me with authority and said, Romeo is still young. He'll have plenty of promotion opportunities in the future. Besides, I'm busy with work. He should focus more on taking care of the family. Whether he gets promoted or not doesn't matter to him. Last night, Freya had already issued a harsh warning. If I dared to make a fuss about this and caused even the slightest trouble for Phineas, she'd divorce me. She was certain I'd swallow this humiliation in silence, just like when I gave up the chance to study abroad for Phineas back then. Unfortunately for her, this time, I was giving up on her and choosing myself. Chapter 3. When we got home, Freya started packing things up. My back had been injured years ago, during a mission in the mountains with Freya. She nearly stepped into thin air and fell. In order to pull her back, I slammed my waist hard against a rock. Ever since, lying on a hard bed or catching a chill would cause unbearable pain. When we got married, my parents had spent a lot of money to buy me a foam mattress. But Freya didn't hesitate to strip it off, carefully covering it with a clean white cloth. It's cold now, and life is hard for them, especially since Tony is still young and can't stand the cold. Even if we suffer a little, we can't let the child suffer. It was then that I noticed the television in the living room was gone. She had already packed it into a cardboard box, planning to send it to Phineas and his son. Seeing my questioning look, Freya explained again. Tony is young, just a child. Phineas is busy with work and doesn't have much time to play with him. We don't watch that TV anyway, so let's just give it to the boy for entertainment. If our child had lived, he would probably be about Tony's age now. When we first married, Freya had no desire for children at all. Pressured by our parents, she impatiently said we'd wait and see. That child was an accident. Because Freya wasn't sure she wanted it, she wouldn't even let me tell my family. That was the year Phineas returned with his wife, and Freya personally drove the regiment's vehicle to pick them up. Halfway there, we had a car accident. Freya, despite her injuries, immediately pulled Phineas to safety. By the time the regiment got word and rushed over, I was trapped in my seat, covered in blood. I still remember Freya's sharp voice. Send Phineas to the hospital first. Romeo and I are fine. In the end, the diagnosis showed that Phineas only had minor scrapes and a fright, but Freya's unborn child was gone. From then on, she didn't dare let our families know. Even in the hospital ward, having just lost the baby, she still defended Phineas righteously. I'm a soldier, protecting civilians is my duty. You're my spouse, and you should make sacrifices at the most dangerous moments. If you can't even have that much dedication, how can you call yourself the husband of a regiment commander? And now, she asked me with the same self-righteousness, have you finished the transfer paperwork for Phineas yet? Chapter 4. Not long ago, I was assigned a house by my unit. Phineas wasn't so lucky. He missed the right timing, so he's still living with his child in a place Freya rented for them. When he came to see the new house, Phineas's eyes turned slightly red. If only I had a place like this, then Tony wouldn't have to wander from place to place with me. And just like that, Freya, without hesitation, decided to give my house to him. I froze for a moment, my gaze drifting instinctively toward the file folder I had hidden in a drawer. Inside wasn't any property transfer paperwork at all, but the confidentiality agreement I had signed for the National Priority Secret Program. Seeing my hesitation, Freya thought I was just reluctant. She immediately frowned. Didn't we agree on this? Don't get any bad ideas. If you dare to go back on it, I'll divorce you on the spot. I put on a troubled look and asked, but if you give the house to him, where will I live? Freya said impatiently, didn't they also give me one? Life isn't easy for Phineas and his son, show a little compassion. She paused, then added, and when you see Tony in the future, don't always keep that cold face, you'll scare the child. Our child is gone. Can't you treat Phineas's child as our own and take better care of them for me? With that, she turned away, leaving me there while she went into the living room to call a guard to move out the furniture. I quickly stopped her, smiling faintly. It's so late, no need to trouble them, right? I'll take care of it tomorrow. Along with the property transfer paperwork, I promise you and Phineas will get a huge surprise. Chapter 5. Early the next morning, Phineas arrived with his son. As soon as he let go, Tony dove into Freya's arms, calling, Auntie, Auntie, over and over. Phineas smiled faintly. This boy is so spoiled by you, he insists on having you take him to school. Without even looking back, Freya picked up her coat. All right, let me get ready and we'll head out. But Phineas's gaze shifted to me, and he asked hesitantly, Romeo, about the house. I smiled cheerfully. Once Freya signs, I'll sign. Freya's hand froze halfway through putting on her coat. Your house, what am I signing for? Before I could answer, she snapped. It's just a house. We agreed it would go to Phineas. So what's your problem now? If the house I was given weren't so far from here and inconvenient for taking Tony to school, do you think I'd even want your place? I snorted. Your property certificate has your name on it. If I'm going to live there, I won't feel at ease, unless you transfer it to me too. Freya looked at me in disbelief. Romeo, after all these years of marriage, you're really going to haggle with me over this? Of course I would haggle. After all, I had already consulted a lawyer. Even if the house under Freya's name counted as joint marital property, I still couldn't do anything with it without her consent, unless she willingly transferred it to me. I tossed the prepared agreement onto the table. You sign, I sign, otherwise, forget it. Freya stared at me with a dark, unreadable look, clearly not understanding why I was suddenly pulling this stunt. I felt a bit guilty, because in that stack of documents, along with the property transfer, there was also our divorce agreement. At that moment, Phineas tugged at her sleeve and muttered softly, Freya, Tony's going to be late for school. Freya shot me a cold glare, then finally signed and impatiently threw the papers back at me. Get the transfer done by this afternoon. Tomorrow, I'll have Phineas and Tony move in. I narrowed my eyes and smiled. This afternoon, more than enough time for me to pack and disappear. Chapter 6. I sold the house and donated everything from the home to the Welfare Institute. While packing, I realized Freya had secretly bought quite a few nice things for that father and son: clothes, toys, and children's comic books for Tony. The kids at the Welfare Institute would probably be happy to see them too. I also left Freya 3 things. First, our divorce agreement. Second, the certificate proving I had donated my assets to the Welfare Institute. Third, the report I submitted to the organization, accusing Freya Lynn of abusing her position for personal gain and allowing Phineas to claim my achievements. As I was leaving with my luggage, I got a call from Freya's parents, pressuring me yet again to have children. All these years, the Lynn family had kept up the pressure, especially my mother-in-law, who was always making snide remarks, hinting that there must be something wrong with me physically. They had introduced me to all kinds of traditional remedies and hospitals, but Freya had always turned a blind eye. She never dared let them know about the child we lost because of Phineas. Feigning surprise, I let out an "oh," and replied, "A child. We had a child." But Freya miscarried while saving someone. If you want the details, ask her. Before they could react, I hung up, dragging my suitcase. I locked the door and went downstairs, soon spotting a van waiting at the corner. The moment I climbed in, I finally let out a breath of relief. I couldn't wait to see what kind of reaction Freya would have when all these ticking time bombs went off at the same time. Our research base was in the Northwest region. By the time I boarded the bus arranged by the organization and arrived, the explosions on the Lynn family's side had already gone off. First was the matter of Freya letting Phineas take credit for my discovery. The organization took it seriously and sent down an inspection team. Under the pretense of surveying the site, they had Phineas lead the way. But the Phineas who had taken the top credit in Freya's report didn't even know where the oil deposit was. The mountain paths were treacherous, and it happened to be raining that day. Phineas pointed randomly, nearly leading the inspectors into a dangerous gully. Under the strange and reproachful stares of the group, Phineas was nearly in tears, and even Freya was too embarrassed to say anything. My colleague spoke up for me. That oil deposit was clearly discovered by Romeo. What does it have to do with Phineas? He spends all his time around his kid. Every time there's a mission, it's either the child's got a fever or a stomachache. He's never even climbed the mountain once. Where would he have discovered an oil deposit? Does he not know his own abilities? They obviously made a mistake up top, and he still had the nerve to claim it. Unbelievable. In the end, Phineas was fired. Freya was demoted and given a disciplinary record, and the position and honors that should have been mine were frozen in place. Chapter 7. Then came the matter of me donating all our assets to the Welfare Institute. When Freya came home and saw the empty house, she was stunned and quickly tried to call me. But then her eyes fell on our divorce agreement, and she was even more shocked. Before she could recover, her parents showed up to confront her in anger. Luckily, I had already cleared everything out before leaving, so her parents had nothing to smash, meaning they took all their anger out on Freya. Her father got so worked up that he had a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. I heard Phineas even had the gall to take his child along to visit, but the moment her parents saw that boy, they thought of the child Freya and I had lost. They became even more agitated and cursed Phineas out before kicking him out. When all the chaos finally subsided, the Lynn family issued an ultimatum. Freya had to cut off all contact with Phineas and never again meddle in his and his son's affairs. Not only that, they refused to acknowledge the divorce agreement with me and insisted Freya bring me back. But I had signed a confidentiality agreement, with my location hidden not only from Freya but even from my own parents. Now, Freya truly had nothing left. Chapter 8. A massive oil field had been discovered in the Northwest, and it was immediately taken over by the higher authorities. Our job was to conduct research on extraction methods within the restricted zone of the oil field. There, I met my geology mentor, Master Wu, an elder highly respected in the industry. It was he who had invited me to come. Master Wu shook my hand excitedly. "Romeo, it's so good that you could come. This oil field is of immense importance. Our technology in all aspects is still incomplete, so now is exactly when we are needed most. We must make sure this work is done well." The confidentiality agreement I signed was for 5 years. That meant, for those 5 years, I would have to stay at the base, and I couldn't let anyone around me know what I was doing. So before coming, I only called my parents to tell them I would be working out of town for 5 years. As for the details, I didn't reveal a single word. Master Wu cautiously asked, "Before coming here, did you make things clear with Freya?" I replied calmly, "Freya and I are already divorced." Seeing his surprised expression, I grinned and added, "Now is the time to dedicate myself to my career and my youth. I don't want to be held back by relationships. I've missed too many opportunities before. This time, I have to seize it for myself." Master Wu's surprise turned to relief. He nodded. Good, as long as you can decide for yourself." Then he turned and waved someone over. Selly, come here, I'll introduce you. This is my prized student, Romeo, outstanding in skill, diligent in attitude. He'll be working in our oil field from now on. He's just arrived, so if there's anything he doesn't understand, teach him. Chapter 9. Walking toward us was a woman about 1.60 meters, with gentle features. Even in the harsh and rugged environment of the Northwest, she gave off the feeling of a lotus blooming in clear water. She looked at me with a soft smile and extended her hand. Hello, my name is Selina. I studied her briefly and offered my hand in return. Hello, Romeo. The living conditions at the base were harsh. The only housing was simple sheet metal huts, swaying in the wind and producing an ear-piercing clanging sound. Selina led me to the quarters arranged for me, and along the way, young soldiers carrying rifles saluted her and called out, "Commander." The dormitories here are divided into 3 large sections. Each one is separate, and there are regular patrols at set times every day. As long as you don't wander out without permission, it's absolutely safe. I gave a wry smile and muttered, "Feels like being in prison." Selina stopped in her tracks and looked back at me. I instantly realized I'd said the wrong thing and tensed up, but the next moment, she smiled sweetly. "It is like being in prison, but a very meaningful one. And once this project is completed, Mr. Romeo, your future will be limitless." After all, this was the largest oil field ever discovered within the country. Overcoming the challenges of extracting it would put me among the top professionals in the industry. My dorm room had already been cleaned, with bedding, a kettle, and all the daily necessities ready. Pausing at the doorway, Selina added, "Supplies here are purchased once a month, approved and bought uniformly by higher authorities. Only those of major general rank and above can enter and leave freely. If you need anything, Mr. Romeo, you can tell me in advance." Finally, she gave me a crisp, formal military salute. "No matter what, anyone who can work here is a comrade worthy of respect. Mr. Romeo, welcome to our team." Chapter 10. According to my mentor, Selina had deep ties to our field as well. It was her father who had discovered this oil field, but the harsh conditions of the Northwest took their toll. After years of surveys, her father's health collapsed, and he passed away just before seeing his work recognized. When the authorities decided to develop the Northwest oil reserves, Selina was the first to apply to guard the site. It was her way of fulfilling her father's last wish. 5 years passed quickly. When I received the appointment notice from above, I was overjoyed and immediately went to find Selina to share the news. Unfortunately, she wasn't there. Someone said she'd been called to a meeting at the military district, with the evacuation orders urgent. I had no choice but to leave her a note, with my parents' home address and phone number written on it. Then, just like when I had first arrived, I boarded the swaying bus and set off into the wind and dust toward home. Stepping off at the station and returning to the compound, I felt a mix of familiarity and strangeness, and there, I saw Freya again. To my surprise, in the 5 years that had made me more confident and mature, she had become almost unrecognizable. Once, she always wore neatly pressed clothes, looking beautiful and dignified. Now, her clothes were wrinkled, her long hair streaked with white, and worry lines etched across her face. She was pushing a battered old bicycle, walking with a limp. When she saw me, her eyes went wide. The bike clattered to the side as she hobbled toward me, clutching my arm in barely restrained excitement. "Romeo, you're back." I pulled my hand away at once and asked quietly, "Do you need something?" The veins on her forehead stood out. "We're husband and wife." I let out a short laugh. "We've been divorced for years, haven't we?" Freya fell silent. In her eyes, I saw my reflection. Then she looked down at herself in defeat. Finally, she said softly, "You're still blaming me, aren't you? These past 5 years, I've blamed myself too. It was my foolishness that drove you away, and hurt Phineas as well." She met my eyes again, her own growing misty. "I admit, I neglected your feelings when I was taking care of Phineas. After you left, I searched everywhere you might have gone, but never found a trace of you. That's when I realized I might truly lose you. And that's when I discovered, my life can't be without you." Chapter 11. Freya had indeed had a rough few years, but that was none of my concern, of course. All for the sake of her precious first love. Tony had gone playing near a nearby reservoir and accidentally fallen in. Freya lost a leg saving him. Although she was officially commended afterward, she could no longer serve in the army and had to be transferred to civilian life. It was the Lin family who pulled strings through their old comrades to arrange a cushy desk job for her. I pulled a faint smile. "Back then, you spent your money, your energy, and even your house to take care of them. Now you've lost a leg to save his son. I'm sure Phineas will be grateful and take good care of you." Freya's mouth opened, but her eyes dimmed. She asked softly, "You still won't forgive me, will you?" I replied bluntly, "Freya, in the adult world there's no such thing as forgive or not forgive. There's only moving on, or not moving on. Our debts to each other were settled 5 years ago when I left the divorce agreement behind and walked away." Her eyes welled up again as she trembled. "But I don't accept it. I never signed that agreement willingly." "You say it's over, But what do these 5 years of me looking for you mean? What do they count for? I cut straight to the point. The only reason you came looking for me, the only reason you think you can't live without me, is because the past 5 years haven't gone your way. You're missing a man who works hard without complaint. Someone to handle all your parents' and relatives' daily troubles for you. You haven't reflected at all on what you did, you just want, at any cost, to keep me around and go back to the way things were. But the problem is, you're still the same you. I, however, am no longer the man I once was. I paused, raised a brow, and gave a cold chuckle. You ask me what your 5 years of looking for me count for? I'd say they count for nothing more than you having too much time on your hands. Chapter 12. Freya still refused to give up. She even pulled strings through her parents, showing up at my parents' home with the whole family in tow. With the Mid-Autumn Festival just around the corner, they came carrying fruit and mooncakes, saying all sorts of nice things about family reunions and togetherness. My mother couldn't stand it anymore. She went to answer the phone, then raised her voice to call out, "Romeo, there's a young lady named Selena calling for you. She says she's your friend." At once, I thought of Selena. I quickly got up to take the call, and sure enough, I heard her long-missed voice. Selena said she'd been transferred too. Now working in the provincial district. She happened to be passing through our area and wanted to visit. I smiled. "All right, give me the address, I'll come pick you up." Hearing I had a friend coming, my father, cornered by the Lin family's persistence, used the excuse of accompanying me out the door to make a quick escape. By the time we came back with Selena, Freya and her parents were still camped in the living room. When Freya saw Selena, her eyes froze for a moment. She watched us together with a thoughtful expression. I introduced Selena to my parents, explaining how much she had helped me during my years at the base. My parents, seeing how well-mannered and graceful she was, and hearing she was transferring to work in the provincial district, looked as if they'd like nothing better than to set up a shrine for her at home. By comparison, the Freya family's presence was almost humiliating for them. Before lunch had even been served, the Lin family found an excuse to leave in a hurry. That night, my mother came to me in a conspiratorial tone. "What's your relationship with Selena?" I rolled my eyes. "Just colleagues from the base. What could it be? Don't overthink it." But my mother put on a knowing look. "I can see it in your eyes. You two aren't so innocent. Selena's a good girl, well-educated, well-mannered, knows her boundaries. Not like Freya. From the start, when you two were going to get married, I didn't approve, but your father insisted, saying she grew up in the same compound, and we knew her well. Freya never liked me back then, so she never bothered to put on a good face for my parents, always indifferent and impatient whenever she came by. I used to be good at lying to myself, thinking that as long as I could be with Freya, it would be enough. But now I finally understood, without her, I could live an even better life. My life had never needed Freya in it." Chapter 13. In a rare move, Phineas came to see me, inviting me to a meal. Over dinner, he kept trying to play matchmaker between me and Freya, saying things like, "Freya's been thinking about you all these years. After you left, she practically lost her mind looking for you. No one could talk her down. Was there some misunderstanding between us back then?" Then he put on that faux considerate act again. "Really, Freya only took care of me because life was hard for me and my son. I couldn't be bothered with small talk." I let out a short, derisive laugh. "Oh, so now that Freya has nothing left, career ruined, leg gone, you want to hand her back to me, is that it?" Phineas froze, his face darkening. He hesitated. "Actually, Freya and I were just..." I cut him off. "Spare me, Phineas. We're both old foxes. Don't try to play innocent. Do ordinary friends have someone's ex-wife constantly looking after their kid? Do ordinary friends feel no shame about taking credit that belongs to someone else? Or about wanting the house that's mine? You've always known exactly what you wanted, and now that Freya no longer has it, you want to ditch her as soon as possible. What's the matter? Already got a new target?" His gaze turned dark and sullen. Without warning, he grabbed the glass in front of him, ready to throw it in my face, but in the next moment, a slender, fair hand caught his arm. I looked up, startled. "What are you doing here?" Seeing Selena with several security officers behind her, Phineas's face shifted, and he quickly pulled his arm back. He asked cautiously, "And this is?" Selena didn't even acknowledge him. She only said to me, "Your mother said you'd gone out to meet a friend. I was in the area on business and thought I'd drop by to see you." Phineas, ever the nuisance, deliberately chimed in. "Romeo, so this is your friend? When will you introduce her to Freya? Even though you're divorced, you've all known each other for years. All these years, you and Freya have helped me so much, I've always felt guilty about it." I knew he was trying to remind Selena that I was divorced. I opened my mouth to speak, but Selena suddenly declared, her tone lofty and unwavering, "It's precisely because I know Romeo's past that I like him." Her gentle demeanor was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp gaze that made Phineas shrink with shame. "You don't need to probe with your little hints. If you truly feel guilty, then apologized to Romeo. Now, Chapter 14. When Phineas realized his attempt to sow discord had backfired, leaving him humiliated, he slunk out of our sight. As for me, even after Selina led me out of the restaurant, my mind was buzzing. Selina liked me. She actually liked me. I'd had a faint suspicion back at the base, but I never expected her to admit it so directly. In the car, the air between us was thick with tension and awkwardness. We didn't exchange a single word until she dropped me off at home. Walking down the plain tree-lined path to my door, Selina finally couldn't hold back. She caught my arm. Looking straight into my eyes, she began her confession. Romeo, what I said just now, I meant it. I really do like you. I had originally planned to find a more proper moment to tell you, but this works too. For someone usually so carefree, she now showed a hint of nervousness, even muttering in complaint. You haven't given me an answer yet. Still dazed, I asked, you like me? Selina chuckled and countered, why else do you think I applied to be transferred here? Then she asked, and do you like me? I smiled, pulled her into my arms, and shot the question back at her. Why else do you think I left you my address and contact information? As we embraced, I happened to spot Freya's figure. She was carrying a net bag containing a few pomegranates and salted duck eggs, probably a little gift to curry favor with my family. But instead, she had stumbled upon the scene of Selina and me sealing our relationship. Selina and I turned toward her, and only then did she school her heartbroken expression, holding out the net bag. My mother pickled these. She said you liked them, so I brought some over. I found it amusing and asked quietly, you didn't know I'm allergic to eggs? In all the years we've known each other, have you ever seen me eat duck eggs, and you say I like them? Freya flushed with embarrassment, fumbling out, sorry. I must be bothering you. She limped away, and I knew she would probably never come looking for me again. Chapter 15. I married Selina. My parents bustled about happily with the wedding preparations, and relatives and friends all came to share in the joy. Freya didn't come. Out of old acquaintance, her parents sent a small cash gift through someone else. My mother snorted, tossed the red envelope onto the table, and complained, what's the point of sending money now? Trying to jinx the day. She'd also heard a piece of gossip from the neighborhood busybodies. Phineas's foreign wife had gone bankrupt and slunk back to the country to find him and their son. Then Phineas remarried that same wife who had cheated on him. After all those years Freya spent fawning over him, she ended up with nothing, losing both the man and the game. Even Tony, the boy who used to cling to her calling auntie with sweet lips, now avoided her when he saw her. Freya had become a laughingstock, and the Lynn elders could no longer hold their heads high among relatives and friends. My mother gloated. Serves her right. Blind and foolish, too late for regrets now. I gave a helpless smile and patted her hand. All right, what's past is past. Let's not worry about her. As long as we live our own life well, that's all that matters. Outside, Selina was already coming in with her bridesmaids, surrounded by a lively chorus of cheers. Looking at my new bride, my mother's eyes curved into slits of joy. That's right, out with the old, in with the new. If not for her leaving, we wouldn't have today. Sitting in the wedding car, passing through familiar streets, I happened to catch sight of Freya. She stood in rags beneath a plane tree by the bridge, watching me from afar. When our eyes met, she froze for a moment, then turned away as if ashamed to be seen. Once, I had stood on that same bridge, waiting for her to come home. But every time, what I saw was either her indifference or her sharing warm, happy moments with Phineas and his son. Now, at last, it was her turn to watch me. A warm hand clasped mine, and Selina's concerned voice sounded by my ear. What's wrong? I came back to myself and smiled happily. Nothing. My life had once stumbled here, risen here, begun here, and even ended here. Now, holding the hand of the woman I love most, it was time to set sail again. As for Freya, I would probably never see her again in this lifetime.